Hi everyone, I'm Lara from Light Coast by Lara. I'm the Tigress of the Light, and this is a series called Peacock Wisdom, moving into the fifth dimension. If you haven't seen this series before, this is where we channel some information from Spirit, and then we channel a light code to help us to integrate these wisdoms as we move forward in our best possible way, not only for ourselves, but also for the collective consciousness. The topic for today is discernment. Discernment is becoming increasingly important as we notice more and more that there is a lot of misinformation out in the world. We have information coming from all different angles, from all different sources, and quite frankly, we don't know what to believe. We know that we can't just blindly trust anything anymore. So we need to actually learn how to just trust ourselves. One of my beloved teachers, Ken, loves to say in his workshops that there are always more than two options to every decision that we have to make. In the ancient pre-Buddhist Bon tradition, they actually suggest that there are 9 ways to look at any given situation. So in this respect, we're actually going from the 2 options, which is very binary, very zeros and ones like computers, but it's also very dualistic, and also feeding those sort of separatist energies. When we expand our minds to think that there are at least 9 options, then we are starting to consider the quantum realm of infinite possibilities, where we're not even limited to 9 options, that there are actually an infinite number of options. In this 3-dimensional realm, the dualistic nature of the zeros and ones, so the binary system, we get very caught up in it's one way or another. That's it. But if we want to be stepping into this 5th dimension, then we really do need to start thinking in those bigger ways. So I invite you to consider that any situation you get in that requires an action or possibly an inaction or somewhere in between, because we're not looking at 2 action or inaction, we have the decision, okay, well, what's the range that's between these 2 polarities here? That there's at least 9 points. Sometimes it's hard for us to know what is the best decision to make. And at the end of the day, it really always comes down to you as an individual. You are living this life. You are the one who's decided, your soul decided to come into this life, to experience this life, and to get the most out of this life. Your life, your decisions, your heart. Nobody can make decisions for you. Sometimes we get seemingly forced into different situations, but even when we are in those situations where maybe we don't feel like we have the freedom that we would ideally like to have, we still have choices within the confines of the structure that we have. So even in society, we know that there's different structures where we all have to fit in to a certain degree. There's rules, there's regulations, there's all these things, but there's wiggle room to a lot of stuff. So it's how do we find our gentle way of being, of navigating and moving through these various structures that are put in place, mostly to keep us safe and healthy and so on. But how do we move through these and look at the various options that we have so that we can choose the right way for us to be, the right way for us to live our life in the best harmony, not only for ourselves, but also for those around us. We are all being tested right now with what's going on in the news, whether that's whether the news is social media, whether the news is mainstream media, or even coming in from different opinions of family and friends or neighbors or colleagues or so forth. We need to figure out how to navigate this and how to not take things on too personally, too deeply, so that it penetrates us in a way that is actually dysfunctional, that's actually creating harm. We need to become more aware of how we are responding to certain things, because often when we respond very quickly, we aren't thinking things through, we aren't staying grounded, and we aren't staying in our heart, and we are losing our coherence. When we lose our coherence, we're not thinking clearly. Our nervous system gets out of whack. Maybe we get a rush of adrenaline. There's all kinds of things that happen biologically when we are not in a coherent, state. Now, coherence is when our heart and our mind, our brain, are actually in sync with one another. So when we are presented with information, we have a decision to make. We have to discern what the best course of action is for us as an individual living the life that we came here to live. So a good exercise to help us actually get calm and be able to look at the possibility of at least 9 options for any given situation is to simply close your eyes or keep your eyes open. Either way is just fine. Slow our breath. Breath does a lot, okay? Breath does a lot. And you can imagine and feel connecting to your feet. Feel your feet as you breathe, and imagine pulling and feeling the energy of the earth coming up through your legs and all the way up to the top of your head, and then you can, on your exhale, just relax the energy back down. Now we can practice this. It's very, very good to practice this multiple times a day until you get really good at it, because for the first while, it probably won't be all that easy, but as we get good at it, we can do it very, very quickly. And this gets us grounded, it gets us centered, it gets us relaxed, and it helps to get us in a much more coherent space where we're actually able to communicate effectively. It helps us to settle our nervous system down, to bring our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems into balance. It helps us to do a whole number of things. Now, if you would love to add on the connection to the heart center, you can do this breath work and then place your hand over your heart center. This helps us to connect to our heart center, and then imagine breathing in and out through your heart. If you can do both at the same time, where you continue to draw the earth energy up through your feet all the way up and then release it down while you focus on your heart space, then that's even better. Okay, so we're going to do a light code to help us with discernment, because this is a pretty hard thing to learn how to do and learn how to navigate. You know, we're all opinionated. We have our beliefs, and right or wrong, that's what we have. That's what we have going on as human beings. But we can get better at it. We can get better at our discernment and our ability to take in the information that is actually beneficial to us and not detrimental to us. So we are going to do a light code using my iPad Pro and Procreate on discernment. Okay, so we have a black background and a very pretty light blue light pen. The topic is discernment. Okay, very cool. Here we go. Well, this is quite an interesting light code. It's very multidimensional. That's first thing, very multidimensional. Again, with the spiral at the bottom, that feels very anchoring. It feels like it is definitely trying to help us see through actually the veil, is what I'm getting. See through the veil that the third dimension provides us with, and see that there are other options, that there is beyond what we can perceive here. It looks like to me it's helping us to anchor in that information on a deeper level. To me, the lines that are towards the bottom spiral, the 3 lines there, to me that's pulling that information that's up higher, like say from the triangle in there, or the even higher up at the top of the code. All that information that's up there needs to come down, and I think those little lines are helping just to bring that, anchoring that energy down. The triangle is super dimensional there, and it's funny, you know, when our eyes look at something like that, you can see it as in a multitude of ways. We could see it as it's going, we're looking at the face of it and it has depth, or it could be that it's pointing out towards us, or it could be that it's pointing vertically somehow. Like I can see at least 3 different ways that the eye could perceive that triangle, which I think is pretty neat. Yes, to me, this is really suggesting that they're to remain open to the vast amount of knowledge and information that is available to us, and that it's simply that sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, but ultimately that we can find it within ourselves, that we are capable of finding the truth for ourselves and not needing to necessarily rely on someone else to tell us. I know that maybe doesn't always apply, like maybe under the topics of politics. Like, we don't know what happens behind closed doors, and we don't always know what is presented and how completely it is presented to us. But I think what this symbol is suggesting is that we are actually able to read between the lines a little bit more than what we think we are capable of doing, and to trust that we can see through a lot of stuff, and to not take things at face value. That's also what I'm getting from this is let's not take things at face value. It takes a little bit of work within ourselves to find the resonance, to find what really is in tune with our being, with nature, with the planet, with the universe. Okay, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like your very own personalized light code, just like the one that we've drawn here, we do offer personalized light codes. And then if you'd like one to be a little bit more fancy, then we can do those too. Those are called frequency pictures. We also offer distance healing sessions. And if you haven't checked out the Little Book of Light Codes, I highly recommend you check it out. This is a book of 52 healing symbols of light channeled by me. And it's a very, very profound book with lots of beautiful healing messages and information in there. So please check it out. When you do get your very own copy, please write a review so that other people can find it. Really appreciate that so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you have the most amazing, wonderful week. All blessings.